If you've noticed a white chalky crust forming along your waterline, you're dealing with pool scale. I'm Matt, the founder of Swim University, and trust me, these deposits are actually really common, even in a well-maintained pool. The good news is that it's easy to treat, but you need to figure out what's causing it first so it doesn't come back again and again. So, what is pool scale and what causes it? So pool scale is crystallized calcium mineral deposits that form on your pool surfaces. Now it happens when calcium falls out of solution or it's no longer dissolved and it starts to settle on surfaces, or it can even cloud up your pool water. Now usually you'll see it as a white, grayish white crust along the waterline on your tiles or on your pool walls, but in more severe cases it can actually affect the bottom of your pool too. But where does it come from? Well, if you fill your pool with hard water, that means you've got high calcium and you're adding it to your pool. High pH is another big contributor. So when your pH climbs too high, calcium becomes less soluble and starts to fall out of the water and deposit onto your surfaces. Now, if you use Cal Hypo shock regularly, this contains calcium because Cal Hypo is short for calcium hypochlorite. Now, scale is much easier to prevent than treat, but if you've already got scale buildup, here's how to get rid of it. The supplies you need are going to depend on how bad the scale looks and which type of pool surface you're dealing with. So you'll need test strips or a test kit to test your chemistry levels, pH decreaser or muriatic acid to lower your pH and your alkalinity into the ideal range, ideally 7.2 to 7.6, a pumice stone for scrubbing scale off concrete and plaster surfaces. Now, if you have a more delicate surface like glazed tile, vinyl, or fiberglass, use a tile and surface eraser instead. A stiff pool brush for brushing down the pool walls. Liquid scale remover, which loosens calcium deposits from pool surfaces. This is the key to the whole treatment, and most of these removers also act as preventers. Safety gloves and eye protection, especially if you're working with muriatic acid. Yes. Okay, so we've got the supplies. Now we need to break down the steps. So step number 1, test and balance your water chemistry. If your pH and alkalinity are too high, your treatment's not going to work. For scale removal, you'll want to lower your total alkalinity between 60 and 80 parts per million and keep your pH between 7.2 and 7.6. This makes the water aggressive enough to dissolve existing calcium deposits. But once the scale is gone, you can bring your alkalinity and pH back up to the normal ranges. To lower both your alkalinity and your pH, you can use muriatic acid or pH decreaser, which is a dry acid. And if you need help figuring out how much of these chemicals to add to your water, check out the Pool Care app. All you got to do is plug in your test results and it'll tell you exactly how much of each chemical to add to your specific pool. Step number 2, brush the pool walls. Grab that stiff pool brush and scrub any visible scale. This loosens the surface layer of those deposits and helps the descaling chemical to work a little bit better. But don't worry about getting it all off in this stage. All you're doing is just breaking it up. You want to focus on the areas with the heaviest buildup first. Step number 3 is to add your liquid scale remover, also called a liquid descaling agent or sequestering agent. And this works by chemically loosening calcium deposits from your pool surfaces so that the brushing or any light sanding can actually remove them. You want to look for a liquid scale remover that is also a preventer. That means you can add a maintenance dose after the initial treatment to prevent calcium from settling on your pool surfaces in the future. Now you want to add at least a 1/2 gallon or a 2-liter container to your pool to start. You may need 2 full containers for the initial treatment. This product works over time, so the results can take a few days or even a few weeks if you have a severe case. Now keep your pH and alkalinity in the lower range during this period, because if your pH climbs up to 7.6 or above, or your alkalinity rises to like 120 parts per million or above, the treatment won't be as successful. So keep testing and adjusting as needed. Step number 4, run the filter. You want to run your pump for 48 hours after adding the liquid scale remover to help it circulate in the water. And don't swim during this time, especially because the water might be more acidic. Step number 5 is to brush and scrub the scale off. Now, after the descaling agent has had some time to work, the deposit should be pretty loose and easier to remove. And if you have a plaster or concrete pool, you can use a wet pumice stone to scrub off the scale. Now, make sure that both the stone and the surfaces are wet because dry pumice can actually scratch. And a stiff pool brush might just be enough depending on how tough the scale is. Now, if you have glazed tile, a vinyl liner, or you have a fiberglass pool, you can use a surface eraser or stain eraser instead because this is much gentler. This will safely buff away the buildup without scratching. Now, for stubborn, rough scale on plaster or concrete, you may actually need sandpaper. Now, if you're dealing with heavy, rough gray scale that's really caked on, you can try sanding with an 80 to 100 grit sandpaper to break it down before you do any scrubbing. This is only for plaster and concrete pools. Do not do this for tile, do not do this for fiberglass, and definitely do not do this if you have a vinyl pool. Now, for lighter, softer deposits, a putty knife could also help scrape off any loose scale before scrubbing. Step number 6 is to add the liquid scale remover directly onto the stubborn spots. For persistent spots that you keep scrubbing and you didn't remove, you can apply a liquid scale remover directly to the affected area and then let it sit for a few minutes and you can try scrubbing again. Step 7, keep up this treatment. Keep adding maintenance doses of your liquid descaling agent each week over several weeks because this keeps the calcium in suspension in the water rather than letting it settle back onto your surfaces. Watch your pH and total alkalinity and keep it in that lower range. You can swim if you're just doing the maintenance dose. Just make sure that all of your other chemical levels are in range. So now this helps get rid of scale, but now you need to know how to prevent it. Scale is almost always a sign that your pH or your calcium hardness levels are too high. Make it a habit of testing your pH and total calcium hardness levels regularly. If you live somewhere with hard water, use a hose filter or a water softener to fill your pool. And you can add a weekly maintenance dose of scale preventer after your initial treatment. Now, this won't lower your total calcium hardness levels, but it prevents the calcium from settling on the surfaces. Now, for extremely heavy or rough gray scale that doesn't respond to chemical treatment and scrubbing, well, in this case, you might need professional bead blasting. Also, watch out for cal hyposhock because this raises your calcium hardness levels over time if you use too much of it. You could try switching to dichlor shock or liquid chlorine to keep your calcium levels in check. Finally, if you're having trouble with calcium hardness levels, be sure to check out our other video. And if you need help balancing your water chemistry, check out our Pool Care app. It's free for the first 7 days if you want to give it a try, and then it's only $49 a year after that. So that's it. Thanks again for watching, and as always, happy swimming.